So hello and welcome to the third part of the Digital Technology Design for Geographic Citizen Science lecture. In this part, we will mainly focus on user-centered design and a method called personas, which is used for the user requirement gathering. So user-centered design is a philosophy that places the user at the center of the design and development process right from the very beginning, when the product is still in the conception phase, and checking at every step on the way with potential users to be sure they will be comfortable with the final design. User-centered design is an iterative process, which means that it will never really stop for as long as your product is being used, as you will constantly need to get feedback from your users, improve and update it accordingly. It has 5 stages, and these include the user requirements gathering and analysis, where we collect the user requirements and needs, defining the system design goals together with the functional and non-functional requirements, the conceptual design, where you develop the concept node with perhaps some high-level design artifacts, such as paper prototypes and wireframes. These are evaluated usually in several iterations to ensure they effectively address conceptual system characteristics and design goals. Then is the design and implementation, which is the technical design and development stage. Evaluation, where the system or parts of it are evaluated to ensure that user requirements and needs are satisfied, and that the concept nodes, characteristics, and goals are fully addressed. This stage involves usually many iterations until the evaluation results are satisfactory. Additional requirements may be identified at this stage, and the conceptual design might be extended to address, of course, these new considerations. And launch and maintenance, which involves a normal operation and the collection of further feedback from users to improve the existing and add new features. This table provides a summary, which by no means is exhaustive, of UCD methods. In this part of the lecture, we'll focus on user requirement gathering and mainly the personas method, which is used for user requirement gathering, design, and evaluation. Whereas in the next lecture, we were going to focus on ability testing, heuristic evaluation, and cognitive walkthrough, which are very popular UCD evaluation methods. So what is a user requirement and what it is needed for? Before turning our attention to specific methods, you might wonder, of course, what it is a user requirement. It describes a specific user expectation from the system. The user requirements are collected in a single document, which is called user requirement document, which in software engineering describes exactly what the software do and becomes part of the contractual agreement. User requirements can be functional, for example, expectation, which informs system functionality and specific system behavior, and non-functional, and this includes expectations which inform the overall system operation, the look and the feel. For example, the system needs to show the users a map of all the data collected is a functional requirement, or that the map should be updated every time a new contribution is added is also a functional requirement. The map should look nice with pale colors. It is a non-functional requirement. User needs is a more abstract expectation or idea about the system. It is more broad, and usually user needs are transformed into one or more user requirements. So why do we need the requirements for? So if you don't know what the users are looking for, we don't know what exactly the application of the system in this broader context should offer and what it should be about. If you develop a system application without consulting the users and the assumptions that I know what the users need, it is very likely that this might include functions that later on the users doesn't know what to do with them, and that you might not include those that they actually expect. And this will in turn influence the usefulness of the system and its future use. Without requirements, evaluators don't know how to evaluate other than, for example, can the users use the system and the general look and feel. And without a user requirements document, it's not only hard to evaluate your system, but also communicate with the development team what the system is about, making sure that you all have the same understanding. So the method that we will be talking about is personas. The method exists since late 1990s, and this currently uses several fields, not only human-computer interaction, but also service design, marketing, system development, and others. And they are reliable and realistic representations of your key audience segments, and are used to capture key characteristics that will influence the design of how your system application is used, people's motivations, likes, dislikes, habits, and so on. So why do you want to use them? Personas are based and describe your actual users to help you understand who will actually be using your website, service, or product, or the citizen science application, and therefore personas can be used to make key design and functionality decisions. Personas are handy to pull out when you're trying to communicate what the user experience is like for your potential user. The design and development teams can refer to personas, which has a specific needs, a specific set of requirements, a specific skills, and so on. And this creates that shared understanding, which is essential for effectively communicating these user issues within a team. Personas help the designers understand that there are different types of users with varying skill levels. And most designers, unfortunately, usually forget that. And they are using several other methods that can help designers and evaluators put themselves in the shoes of potential users and empathize with them. So what information is it useful to include in a persona? So personas include a personal profile of the potential user, including age, gender, education, job, hobbies, family, socioeconomic group, etc. Job role for work-centered sites, or position in household for home-centered sites. What the user wishes to accomplish, that is the exact goals from using that particular system. Also, it is since personas is all about the user and hypothetical individual, we need sometimes to include information about their feelings, their desires, their skill levels, their needs, whatever it is appropriate in the context for which you're using a persona. We usually add some flavoring, that is a backstory. For example, what sort of house they live in, how long they've had their job for. And again, that flavoring should be relevant to the particular context that you're using your persona for. A good persona will help you empathize with your user and make you think, I know someone like that. So the steps for designing a persona include, first of all, collecting user data. In the first step, you collect as much information as possible about your users. Data can come from many different sources, even from pre-existing knowledge in the organization or within your team. And a good starting point is obviously user research to gather insights about your users. Then it is hypothesis. Based on the data collected in the first step, you create a general draft of the various kinds of users, including information about the ways users differ from one another. Then create scenarios. You create scenarios that describe possible situations that could trigger the use of the product. And these are used mainly to better imagine user interaction with the product. Then, of course, you build up your persona, and that the ultimate aim at this stage is to generate a narration that creates an empathetic bond between the imagined person and those who read it. And disseminates and communicates the personas with your team. Here is a short persona description for a new social mobile app with photo sharing application. The brief personas include basic demographic information, age, information about the user's desires, which is key information obviously in this context, and provides information as for what applications the users use at the moment. For example, in this case, connect with people and share photographs. On the top next to each persona, there is a keyword, techie, cost-conscious, and so on, which is the main user characteristics that differentiate one persona from the other. And this is another example of a persona, which is a much more detailed persona. Core is a persona used for an application that provides information about online fraud. As you can see, it is very detailed, descriptive. It provides extensive information about the user, demographics, personality characteristics, some quotes which help to better understand the user, information about the internet. There is a specific section on user goals, and this explains why the user would use the application, as well as what Core is trying to achieve. The organization's objectives are provided, and ideally these should match the user goals. This is an example of persona that can help you empathize with your user and can be also very effective in evaluating the application as it is being developed. That was the last example of a persona. I also would suggest that you check the book Geographic Citizen Science Design No One Left Behind, the chapter 3, where you will find more information about personas, how you develop them, as well as how about the methods that we will cover next week.